Hey, Brock, thanks for joining us. So happy to have
Welcome.
you on here. It's crazy all the way from Lithuania. What have you been up to? What's been going on? I know the season just finished, didn't it? So what's been going on?
Yeah, man, just over here in Lithuania, obviously where my wife's from, and where I met my wife. I've been in the off season for like a month and a half now, so just been traveling. Got back into workouts last week. Had like a month off, and now just yeah, man, living.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Is it like full straight back into full intensity, or is it a bit of conditioning before the season starts?
Yeah, no, I mean I won't go back to Japan until middle of August, so just easing back into it. Got a coach over here, I'll just go to the gym a few times a week, run a little bit, chase the kids, and then yeah, basketball 3 or 4 times on court a week, just like individual
Is it
workouts.
is the whole team back, or is it just individual stuff for now?
Just individual. So I'll be playing. I'll go back to Japan to play next year,
Yeah, yeah,
and now I'm just doing my own stuff for the off season, and then I'll meet up with the team next year in yeah late August.
yeah. Sounds good. Well, for like the start of the pod, I want to take you back to you growing up. So you're from Brisbane, aren't you?
Brisbane, yeah,
Yeah. So whereabouts in Brisbane are you from?
on the south side, 8 Mile Plains.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. Are your parents both Aussie?
yeah. Both parents Australian, parents Australian. I think parents Australian.
Yeah. Fair enough. Where
Yeah.
where do you get your height from? Are your parents tall?
Yeah, dad's like 6'6", 6'7", and my
Oh yeah.
grandma, she was pretty tall. She was like 5'10", 5'11", which is pretty
Oh
tall
yeah.
for that generation. And so I think yeah, my heights just come from that side.
Yeah. Fair enough. So were you like bred a basketballer, or were you the first one out of your family, or did any of your parents play or anything?
Yeah, both my parents played, but not like at a high professional level. They just both played, and I think dad played at semi-professional level, which I think now would be the equivalent to a NBL one. But
Oh
he's
yeah.
from a small town in northern New South Wales, so it wasn't that many
Oh
pathways
really?
back then to become a pro.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm the first pro in my family.
Oh, yeah, that's crazy. Even now, I feel like obviously there's a few Aussies in the NBA and stuff, but I feel like that pathway still isn't as strong as it could be, I guess is the words.
Yeah, it's tough. I think like nowadays, unless you got all the hype behind you, it's hard to go from I guess high school basketball to then what's next? Are you the top 0.1% that gets to go to college or like a high level Division 1 college? And then even after that, the top 10%, I guess, of Aussies from that crop that get to make it to the NBL, or top 5 or 1% that get to go to the NBA or play overseas in Europe or Asia. So yeah, it's difficult, but I think yeah, if you're good enough, you end up getting to where you need to. But it's certainly not
Yeah.
a clear cut
Y-
pathway like, oh, after I finish high school, it's easy steps to the pros. You have to work, and I think it's a fair bit of luck involved to become a pro, especially in Australia with so many other sports that have clearer pathways to become professionals.
Yeah, that leads into what I was going to talk about next. Was there any other sports, or was it always basketball?
I played heaps of sports growing up. I played a bit of tennis, I swam, cricket, baseball, all in primary school, high school, where you get to play all the different sports. And then I remember in high
Yeah.
school, I think I missed out on like a Queensland team, and so I debated whether I had enough of basketball for a while, and I went and played volleyball. And I played for
Oh,
Queensland, played
really?
for the Australian schoolboys team, and then I got an offer to go to the AIS for volleyball, and I mulled on it, and then a week or two later, I got an offer to go to the AIS for basketball, and so that was my calling, and I stuck with
Oh,
it.
wow.
And I don't think I've played a game of volleyball since.
Yeah. Was that the first moment where you're like, fuck, like basketball, I could actually make something out of this? Or did you always have that vision in your head?
I always had that vision, the school carnivals where I think it's high school, early high school, or maybe primary school. But you get like a couple of days off school to play like different
Yeah, yeah.
regions. And I remember telling my mum on the drive back from a game one day, like, if I could do this, instead of having to go to school, this would be the dream. And she was like, keep
Yeah.
working and you might be able to do this, as a job. And then from then, that sort of instilled the vision in me, like, if I could work at this now, it could set me up and I wouldn't have to work, a traditional 9 to 5
Yeah.
job. So that sort of opened my eyes to that I could do it as a professional. And I guess from that day on, I set my mind to it. And yeah, I was lucky along the way to catch some breaks. And yeah, I'm still going.
Yeah. I feel like that, I guess, as a lot of kids see, like, oh, I want to be a professional so and so professional athlete and but your mum and your parents actually saying like you can do that probably instilled so much belief in you, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, your parents, what they say is gospel when you're growing up, and they sort of
Yeah.
give you the light, and they gave me the confidence, and it wasn't really, a serious talk. It was just sort of like a passing by comment that stuck to me that I thought, wow, like if they're saying this, and I'm not at school, I get to play basketball, and I could potentially do this for a living, and so I guess it just sort of put the belief in my head that I could do it, and then I just worked at it. And but yeah, it all started. That seed was put in my head by both my parents giving me the full confidence and support to work towards doing what I wanted.
Growing up, was there any, I guess, like coaches around you or anyone you looked up to who was playing professionally that you thought that really inspired you?
Coaches. There was one coach I had when I was younger. His name was Jason Cameron, JC, and he's still working, I think, at Southwest over in Runcorn now. Shout out JC. But he was a coach, and he played for
Oh,
like our local, club or association or whatever, Southwest Metro.
yeah.
And we'd go watch him on Saturdays or Sundays, and he was the man. Like fadeaways, dunks, threes. Like we thought he was like the coolest dude ever. And he was our under 14s coach or whatever. And he was our coach, so it was pretty cool to see him and see him do his thing, and then he'd come and coach us. So that was cool. But otherwise, wasn't really people that were playing professional, but I had some coaches along my time that my play style was a little bit different and unorthodox compared to, like, I'm 6'10", 6'11", like all the other
Yeah.
people my height were doing, traditional back to the basket, like post up Shaq type work. Whereas my game was more threes,
Yeah.
trying to dribble, around the
Mate,
back
you're
passes,
like
things like
Wemby
that.
before Wemby.
Yeah. I played with him a few years ago, but
Oh, really?
the coaches, as I was growing up, that made me be in a box. It wasn't as fun, but then when I had a couple coaches that allowed me to be me and just sort of be free, they're the coaches that meant the world to me and allowed me, I guess, to blossom and
Yeah.
really own my body and my play style.
Yeah. I just feel like you'll play better if you're playing a natural way as well. You know what I mean? Like if they're telling you to do this, you might do it like good, but if you're playing how you naturally want to play, I feel like that's when you'll be great. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you play instinctually. It's a lot more
Yeah.
fun and it just comes naturally. If you're playing, in the back of your head, oh, I need to do this, you sort of second guess everything and your timing's all off. But yeah, you're right. When you play
Yeah.
instinctually and everything naturally flows, that's how you get to, I guess, play your true game.
Yeah. Was there, I know you said you didn't make the Queensland team, the schoolboys team. Was there any major setbacks growing up that what you were like, I don't know, this isn't for me, or just made you second guess everything? And how'd you get over that?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a few. I think the standout one, that was the first one that I spoke about, missing out on that rep team when, I felt that I sort of belonged in that. And so
Yeah.
that was one. For next one would have been probably my cropper, like friends and the guys that I was playing with at the time. They all left for the AIS,
Oh, yeah.
and so like I think it was like six of the guys from Queensland left for the AIS that were all my age, and I didn't get an invite, so I had to wait another year, which also fueled my motivation. And then the next two would probably be, I guess, not getting drafted out of college, and then not making the Olympic team in or Olympic or the World Cup team in 2019, 2020. They
Yeah.
were probably the more notable setbacks for me, among a few others, but they're the
Yeah.
ones that I remember, pretty distinctly that fueled, the next step up into my career.
Yeah. Was there any one that you took really hard and maybe you look back on it now and I guess you can see not the good in it because obviously it wasn't a great thing, but how it developed you as a player?
Uh, yeah, I think, so what was it, 2015? I got a call up to finish the season with the Jazz,
Yeah.
and I just finished my season in Adelaide. But in the last game of that season, I got injured.
Oh,
And
fire.
so that was, a big turning point for me because instead of going to the NBA, I ended up going to Europe. And I played in EuroLeague, and my first team in EuroLeague was here in Lithuania. And that's where I met my wife, and I had two of the best years of my career here. And then I went on to play 6 or 7 more years in EuroLeague, and I think I played 9 or 10 over here in Europe before I made the move over to Japan. And I met my wife here. I had both my kids overseas, and I think that sort of shaped my life a lot differently if I had have gone to Utah. And who knows what would have happened if I had stayed there, or if I had got cut wave the next year.
Yeah.
How my life and how my career would have been different had I not come here. So that's probably the biggest, I
Yeah.
guess, fork in the road or turning point in my career that ended up being a blessing.
Yeah. No, that's crazy because obviously, like playing the NBA would be a childhood dream, but you'd think nothing good would come out of not like not being able to do that at that time. But then all this crazy stuff's coming out of it. So it really shows that everything happens for
Yeah,
a
yeah,
reason. You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to talk about you. So you finish high school, you go to college, you went to college at Washington State. Yeah, so you go to Washington State did you go straight out of high school?
Yeah, so I finished up at State High, and then I went down to AIS for 2 years,
Yeah.
and then went over to Washington State, and I'm not sure how much it caught before it cut off, but it was a big culture shock. It was
Yeah.
cold. It was, I mean, the most people I'd played in front of before going over there was, probably a couple hundred in Australia. And then going over there to having a home arena of, 14, 15,000 and playing at different arenas that were, huge with the student sections and things like that, which was a great experience. And then also, dealing with Americans,
Yeah.
how they're the best at everything. They know everything. You can't tell them nothing. And just their physicality and athleticism. It was a big change to what I'd experienced in Australia, and it took me a while to adjust to that. But once I got used to it, it was a great place.
Yeah. Do you think it was a big change as well? Because I feel like when you're playing in Australia, you're rarely versing someone who you're like, oh, this guy will play in the NBA, or this guy is really good. You know what I mean? But going and playing college, surely it'd just be next level versus those type of guys.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially back then it was a Pac-12, so you're playing USC, UCLA, Arizona, Oregon, University of Washington, like all these teams that they had lottery picks on most of them, and when you're looking at the scouting report and then you're seeing them on ESPN, you're like, gotta play this guy tomorrow night, So it was cool. It was it was definitely night and day compared to what we had in Australia at the time. I think it might be a little bit different now with how Australians starting to develop, but definitely, college basketball is unmatched in terms of experience and athleticism and the future pros that you get to play against.
Yeah. Was there anyone you played and you were like, bro, this guy is insane, and maybe they've gone on to be good, or maybe they haven't gone on to be as great, but was there anyone you played and you're like, this guy's next level?
Trying to think who stood out the most. Derek Williams,
Oh,
when
yeah.
he was at Arizona, he only played 1 year, but I remember playing against him, and he was a freak. And also Nikola Vucevic, he
Oh,
played
yeah.
at
Yeah.
USC. I think he's still playing, maybe for Chicago.
Yeah.
And and I hate to name drop, but my teammate, Clay Thompson, he was the best player I've
Oh
ever
yeah,
seen in real life.
yeah,
And the amount of work he did and getting to see him do his thing. I hadn't been to an NBA game or anything back then, but up until that point in my life, and maybe even still to date, he was probably the best guy I've ever seen in real life.
yeah. I feel like people don't realize the difference between a professional basketballer and even someone playing, like even a professional basketballer, like playing college, and even someone playing NBL one in Australia. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard unless you've been exposed to it, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's night and day. I think Brian Scalabrine put out a challenge a couple of years ago. Did you see that?
Oh
He
yeah.
said,
Is anyone can beat me in a one-on-one or something?
yeah, anyone, and he put up
Yeah.
some money or something. And then after he beat all these people that called him out, and this was, years and years after he'd retired, and he said, I'm closer to LeBron James than you are to me.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
thought that's pretty funny. Like, it just shows the difference between guys that think they can do it and, the pros that can do it.
Yeah, you see these guys go and play in like gyms and stuff in America, and these are some guy that people are calling trash because they miss a shot in the NBA or whatever, and they're in these gyms cooking these other guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got to remember, you're playing against other pros too. So these elite
Yeah,
defenders aren't just, letting you score.
yeah,
But then when
exactly.
you're playing against, some dudes that just run around out of Anytime Fitness, it's a different
Yeah,
story.
exactly. Yeah, so you left Washington, and when you left, you were fifth on their all-time scoring list. So that's pretty crazy for a kid from Brisbane.
Yeah, I mean, I
How?
only really played my last 2 years. The first
Yeah,
first year I played in a few games. My second year I played a little bit more, and then the last 2 years I had a bigger role, and that's where majority of the scoring came from. I think if I had had similar opportunity as I did my second 2 years, I would have left, top one or two.
yeah. Yeah, that would have been crazy. But was there was there any setbacks in college, or did you get there and realize, fuck, like this is like I thought I was working hard in Australia. This is next level, or was it exactly what you're expecting?
No, I thought I was going to go in, be the man, you know, go straight away. And when I went there, like they were like a Sweet 16 team. They had Tony Bennett as a coach, and of course, they tell you everything you want to hear when you're getting recruited. So
Yeah,
in my head, I'm like, all right, cool, I'm going in. I'm going to play. But I was looking at the roster like, oh, there's not many guys in my position. I'll be good. I got there, and the guys in my position that I'd never heard about, they were cooking me. And I was like, man, what did I get myself into? And
yeah,
a lot of the other guys that went over, they went to St. Mary's, and other guys that were playing. And I'm just looking around like, damn, all these other Australians are playing, and I'm not playing anything. And I'm getting cooked every day. So I'd go home and like, I'd call my parents on Skype back then, and I'd be
yeah,
crying like, please, like, can you just book me a ticket home? Like, I'm on seek.com.au looking at, they're like, well, if you come home, like, what are you going to do? Are you going to work? I was like, I'll do anything. I'm looking for jobs. Every day I was just like, it was depressing, man. I was getting smoked every day. But in my head, I was like, I should be playing. Like,
yeah,
what's going on? So it was just an adjustment. I had to eat heaps. I had to bulk up. I was skinny as. These dudes are eating weights. I'm just trying my best just to survive. We had
yeah,
6 a.m. stair runs in the stadium, 4-hour practices, and I'm just like, what did I get myself into? But
yeah.
once I adjusted and I got used to everything, it took a year and a half, and once I adjusted, it was good.
Was there like one single moment where you got an opportunity and you kind of just ran with it, or was it like a gradual build over time?
There was one game, I think it was my freshman year, and yeah, I got to play, and I hadn't really played all season. I'd played junk time at the end of the game, and it was embarrassing. Like we'd be up by 20 or down by 20. I'd sub in with like a minute, 20 seconds. So
Yeah,
that was no good. But yeah, I remember one time, I think it was against UCLA. I subbed in at home, and we, or no, the last game of the year in the Pac-12 tournament, we played against Oregon, and the coach subbed me in the first half, and I got a bit of rhythm, and I think I ended up with like 14 points, and that was the last game of the season. So before that, I had in my head like maybe I'll transfer, maybe maybe I should change schools for a better opportunity. But the last game of the year, I had my best game of the season. So that gave me a bit of confidence going into the next year that, maybe I'll get more of a chance. So that was probably my first, little break. And then the next year was a bit more or less the same. But then the following season, like the start of my junior year, and Clay had gone, and we had sort of a bit of a different looking roster. And I knew there was going to be a pretty big scoring void to fill. And so the first game of the year we played against Gonzaga, and it was like a ESPN, tip-off. They had 24 hours of consecutive college basketball. So we were on ESPN, and it was a huge deal. And we played against Gonzaga, which was our big rival. And I think I played 30-something minutes, scored 18 or 20 points. And then from there, that was sort of my break. The coach gave me, opportunity, and I took it. And, from there, the rest is sort of history in terms of not playing. And my start in college was from that first game, and then the next 2 years, I played a lot and played well.
Yeah. What was that feeling like? You get on that court finally. Were you nervous, or was it just like, I'm so ready for this?
I was just ready, because it'd been 2 years of just fuel, lighting my fire, that I just had so much, not anger, but like motivation inside me that I wanted to prove, not just to myself, but like to the coaches and also to everybody, that was watching, that, I could play at that level, and I could compete, and I could excel. And I guess every basket just sort of validated my own opinion of myself. And then, I just went with it, and it kept that fire inside me, I guess still to this day. And it really motivated me to start my college career and to keep going for those next couple of years.
When you're not playing, is it just like training? You're not playing any games anywhere else or anything?
You're talking about in college?
Yeah, in college.
Man, so the worst part is, so usually there's like 15 guys on the team in college, You got the main five, you got the 5 reserves, and then you got the other 5, which is usually like walk-ons, which they pay their way for school. Like, they just love basketball. Their parents are still paying, $150,000 for their schooling, but they get to come. They get to travel with us. They get the jerseys. They get all. Man, so when you're doing like the day before a game, or when you're doing like review of other teams, or trying to go through their offenses, you got the starting 5 versus the bench 5, and then you got the like other 5, which is like the scout team. So you're wearing different jerseys. You're pretending you're the other team. Man, for the first year and a bit, I was on that team, and like I was just like, fuck this. This is bullshit. So I'm, flown all the way from Australia, this big time recruit, and I'm on the fucking scout team. That was probably one of the biggest ego hits I can remember. But you're just playing against all the guys that are playing, and then if they've played, X amount of minutes, then you'll come in and, you'll do extra work, you'll do extra shooting, or you'll play one-on-one, or do stuff with the guys that aren't playing to stay in shape in case you get a call up to play.
Yeah, I feel like that, mate, that would be tough. Coming from Australia, you're like the big dog, and then you go to college, and probably like it doesn't even feel like you're on the team if you're wearing different teams' jerseys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was definitely humbling. It was a humbling experience for sure.
Yeah. So then you enter the NBA draft, and you go undrafted. Run me through that night. What's your emotions like that night?
So I'd done a heap of workouts after, because, I left college, 2-time, leading scorer of the Pac-12. I had a bit of hype. I wasn't your traditional crazy athlete like the African Americans that, usually at the 4 position. At that time, it was more like I was saying the other day, I was probably a few years before my time in terms of now, like the stretch 4 and the, being able to stretch the floor as a big and shoot is sort of in fashion, and small ball and things like that. So I was probably a few years too early, but when I was coming through, they still wanted the athletes, the shot blockers, the dunks, like at all the draft workouts. Oh, how many times can you dunk? Can you palm 2 balls? Can you, how many times can you dunk in a minute? All these things. So my game was probably a little bit too early, but so when I left college, that night, draft night, my agent told me at 52, Indiana are going to take you. Like in the second round, so cool. I had a good workout there. They had a pretty, I had a pretty good feel when I had my interview and workout with the Pacers. So I was like, cool, I'm going to get drafted. And then I think it was pick mid 40s, and I got a call from my agent. Oh, Indiana just sold the pick to Boston for, X amount of money. So they're
Yeah.
not going. They can't take you there anymore. And so after that, my heart just sank, and I'm just watching it like, you know, I told a few people like, yeah, pick 52, that's me. And then comes pick 52, Boston Celtics select Colton Iverson out of Colorado State, and I'm just like, that was my chance. But it wasn't the end of the world because then I went on to summer league. I played with Philadelphia, which was a terrible situation, but that yeah, even if I had got drafted in the second round, there was no guarantee that I would have got signed. So
Yeah.
it wasn't the end of the world, but it would have been cool to hear my name called out regardless.
Yeah. So you go play summer league. What you said it wasn't a great situation. What happened?
Well,
What
that
happened
was
there?
the year or the year before the Philadelphia 76ers had the worst record in the NBA. They had no one on their roster, so they had a bunch of open spots. So they brought a whole heap of, like, I guess, free agents into the summer league team, plus a bunch of the guys that they drafted. So we had like 18 people on the summer league team. Only five can be on the court.
Yeah.
18 people, and half of them were like guys that had affiliation with the 76ers or had been in the NBA, and the other half, it seemed like, were guys that they drafted. So they all had priority over me, some guy that was just a free agent out of college. So I was at the end of the bench. And granted, I probably didn't have the body or anything ready for the NBA at that stage. But I did, yeah, I didn't even get an opportunity really to play there. And yeah, it was sort of a waste. I probably should have picked a different team at that stage, knowing what I know now. But, it was my first experience. So yeah, it was what it was.
Yeah. You gotta go through those. And then I'm not sure, was it you go yeah, you play summer league
Yeah.
and then did you go straight overseas
Yeah, then I went
after?
over and played in Italy for my first pro season. I played in Bologna, which was another, crazy experience, moving to a country that
Yeah.
doesn't speak any English by myself. First time, that I was sort of on my own. Even in college, they give you, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They have coaches. They give you where to live. So then I go over to Italy. Can't speak much, Italian, and then I'm just, yeah, thrown into the wild, really, against
Yeah.
pros now. So they're all playing pros a little different, especially over in Europe and overseas, because everyone's friendly and they're cool until you're doing better than them, because then their job's sort of at stake. So
Yeah.
they drip feed you information, they try and be cool with you, unless you get lucky and you get like a really good vet or someone
Yeah.
like that. But for the most part, they're just worried about the food on their plate and they don't want you to take any of theirs. So they'll help you along as long as you're not gonna interfere with anything they're doing. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I feel like
it was tough.
yeah, I feel like that's a thing with playing professional sport. You're not just playing to win a championship or like you are playing for the team, obviously, but this is putting food on your table. You know what I mean? So you got to think about yourself in one way or another as well.
Yeah, it's almost like a game within a game. Like, obviously winning's paramount because when you win, the tide rises for everybody, and everybody, gets more chicken on their plate the next season. But within that, you got to ensure that you do your job. So regardless of what happens, you're still going to have a job, in the future. So yeah, it's sort of you have to make sure you do your job while still, making sure the team wins. So yeah, it's there's a lot of intricacies to pro sports, but yeah, that's definitely one of them.
Yeah. After those years, you came back home to play in the NBL, didn't you?
Yeah, so after my first year in Bologna, I went and played summer league with the Jazz,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
had a great summer league with them. And I went to training camp, got into the 15, and then the day before the season started, they called me in and said, "Look, we're going to let you go. We got Steve Novak, Derek Favors, Jeremy Evans, and like a bunch of guys at the four position." And they're like, "We've tried to trade a few of them, but no one's, we haven't been able to move them. So can you go somewhere that we can bring you back after the All-Star break, after the trade deadline, where we can try and move some guys?" And basically they were hinting at me going to their G League team, but I didn't want
Yeah.
to. I didn't want to go play in the D League, so I checked out. I checked out the NBL season finished in February, which was right after the trade deadline and the All Star break, where they could bring in guys for 10-day contracts. And so yeah, I went to Australia, had a great season in Adelaide, played with my best mate, and played with a coach that had coached the Bullets when I was growing up in Brisbane, Joey Wright, and we'd always kept in
Oh, yeah.
contact. So it was sort of, yeah, perfect fit. I went in there, we had a great season. And then, yeah, all would have aligned perfectly with the Jazz bringing me back. And yeah, until I got injured in that last game. But yeah, it was awesome to play in the NBL back then.
Yeah. Will there ever be an NBL return, or you don't know?
I really don't know. I've wanted to play for the Bullets for the last few years, but it just hasn't worked out. And now, I'm pretty comfortable in Japan with how that's been. So yeah, I'll never say never, but I'd personally love to play in the NBL before it's all said and done. But yeah, time will tell. It just has to be the right situation and yeah, right opportunity.
Yeah, I feel like the NBL lately, in the last couple of years, it's really grown as well. Like it's getting pretty big crowds and it's well televised now and stuff. So it'd be a real spectacle to play in.
Yeah, I mean the owner Larry Kesselman's done an amazing job. He's pumped a bunch of money into it, and the products have always been sold. Like Australia's always been good at basketball, but to display it with like the social media clips, the video quality, the hype around the league, and like people talking about it. That's half the battle, just a big hype machine where they can pump out social media, high quality videos, controversial takes, and things like that. And also, the quality of the league's risen with the imports and the locals that play there. So it's definitely, come leaps and bounds in the last few years.
Yeah, and I feel like with people my age, obviously it was a couple of years ago now, but when LaMelo Ball came over, it really everyone my age especially loved that.
Yeah, I mean that initiative, like the Next Stars, so where guys don't have to go to college, they can go to the NBL and play pro for a year and then still be eligible for the draft. You had LaMelo Ball, Josh Giddey,
Yeah.
RJ Hampton, like a bunch of dudes that Alex Sarr, I think last year he went number 2 pick. He was playing with Perth.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, but LaMelo Ball, with everything that goes with him to come to Australia and little Illawarra, that's that definitely opened some doors for Australia and the
Yeah.
basketball.
It's so funny. You think you go to like Sydney or Brisbane or somewhere big, but going to like Wollongong, like Illawarra, like so random.
Yeah, I mean he was here in Lithuania too before he
Yeah,
went to
yeah.
Australia, wasn't he? Because it's like 40 minutes down the road from here. This place, bro, has like a couple thousand people, and it would make Wollongong, where he went to, look like New York. So I couldn't imagine what like him, his dad, and his brothers were doing here in Lithuania. It would have been next level. But then to go to Australia is probably a little bit different for him.
Yeah. Over that period playing the NBL, playing the NBA, was there anyone you played with or you came up against, you stood next to and you're like, shit, like that's so and so. This is what is my life, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, just when you play in summer league and you get to play against those kind of guys, like okay, at the time it wasn't as big of a deal, but now like I played with Rudy Gobert on
Oh yeah.
Jazz, and that was cool. And then playing against Jabari Parker, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and giving them buckets at the
Yeah.
summer league, but they were still young, they'd just been drafted. So,
Yeah.
but looking back and looking at the video, it's pretty cool. And then in my summer league game, in my preseason game when I was with the Jazz, when we played against the Lakers, and I played against Kobe, and I
Oh, far
remember I
out.
still got the video clip on my phone. I show my mate every year because he was a big Kobe fan, or is a big Kobe fan, and we were playing against him. And I remember the coverage we were in was like drops or whatever, where there's an on ball, like the big drops, and then the guard gets back in front, and then you go back to the big. And this one play, the guard was a little bit late, and Kobe was coming off the on ball, and I was like, "Here's my chance," And I said, "Switch," and he's like, "No, come back." I was like, "No, I got him." And then Kobe drove on me. I just, I got blown by. I reached behind, hit the ball out, and in my head I was like, yeah, I locked down Kobe. I'm the man.
Yeah.
But no, and so that was my claim to fame in my
You
little
should have.
preseason game with the Jazz to play against Kobe on one possession.
You should have gone at him, see what it was all about.
Told him, yeah, no, I would have got humbled real quick.
Nah, Kobe humbled everyone that went at him, so you wouldn't have been the first. Um, yeah, and then you go back overseas after playing the NBL, and is that when you met your wife and had a family?
Yeah, so we after that finished, I had a few games with the national team with Australia. We were getting ready for
Yeah.
well, we just finished the World Cup, and we were getting. I think this was like the year before the Olympics, so we were doing some tour of Europe, and we played against the Lithuanian national team. And I didn't know a whole lot about, even though I'd played in Italy, that was just like the local Italian league. I never played in the Euro League or anything like that, so I wasn't fully aware of European basketball still. But we played against the Lithuanian national team, and I had one really good game against them. We played against them 2 times. The first game I had, I think, 20 or 22 against the captain of this club here, Zalgiris, that I ended up playing against. And I had no idea. And then after that game, my agent was like, hey, Lithuanian team want to offer you, good money, EuroLeague. It's a good chance you should take it. I said, okay, cool. What are they offering? And he's like, yeah, this much. I said, okay, cool. But then we played against him again 2 days later. And so in my head, I was like, now I got a bit of pressure, we're in negotiation with this big Lithuanian EuroLeague team. And so I'm going, first quarter goes, I'm going all right. Second quarter comes, rolled my ankle, like Bogut, fell over, hit my leg, and like rolled my ankle something fierce. Like it was huge. And I told my roommate at the time, I said, bro, like my ankle's done. Like I don't know what to do. He just said, and he knew the situation was going on with the club and whatever. He's like, bro, just tie your shoe up as tight as you can and go out and play the second half. I was like, all right. I tied it up so tight, like my foot was like numb,
Yeah.
Went out, had like another 18, and then they, like doubled the offer and gave me 2 years. And then, that was how I got my shot here in Lithuania. Come here, and it was awesome. It was, my wife, who at the time just moved back to Lithuania after living in the UK for 4 years, came to work for this club, and she was like the marketing media type manager. So she did an interview with me. Welcome to the Lithuania, welcome to blah blah. And then after that, I asked her out for dinner, and then the rest is history. We stayed together that year. She moved in with me the following year, and then we left Lithuania, moved to Istanbul to play, and she's been with me ever since.
Yeah, that's crazy. If you didn't make that Aussie team, you might have never met your wife.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So making that the Boomers, how did you get the call? What was your reaction when you realized you were going to represent Australia?
So I had a few like camp invites in the past, through college and things like that. And I remember one time this coach said, because I had MO that I was a shooter and a scorer. And then I got cut at one of the camps before college or after college, and they said, look, we heard you're a shooter and a scorer. You can't shoot and you can't score. I was like, all right, cool. I'm done with these guys. They don't want me. And then at the time, my agent got me a call up for like when all the big dogs don't play, and they send like now the qualifiers. They send the second team. So I went to that, made that team. China came, played against us, and then we played in China, and I had a few good games. And then from that, they called me up to the big dog team, and I made the World Cup team, went to the World Cup. And so that was pretty amazing to represent your country at a World Cup. And then a couple of years later, that more or less that same team went to the Olympics. And that was probably the proudest moment of my career, being named an Olympian and being able to play for Australia at the Olympics. So it was a massive deal.
Yeah, mate, I can only imagine. Did you get the Olympic tattoo or nah?
No tattoos.
Fair enough.
Yeah, no.
What was it like getting on the court in that first game of the Olympics? Where was it? The Olympics?
In Rio, 2016. Rio, yeah. It was pretty surreal. Like, I had my parents and my sister in the stands, and just knowing that what the Olympics is as a kid, watching it on TV, staying up, watching the basketball, watching the 100 meters, watching the swimming. It was pretty surreal to then, one, go to the opening ceremony, and two, to play there. It was, yeah, amazing experience and something I'll never forget.
Yeah, that would be insane. Talking about Aussie basketball, who do you think, or it's kind of a two-parter question, who's the best Australian basketballer right now, and who is the best Australian basketballer of all time? It might be the same person, but
Right
I don't know.
now, I think it's probably Josh Giddey. He's yeah, he's still so young, but what he's done, I guess, since he got to the NBA is pretty phenomenal. He had that big media storm, was it last year or 2 years ago, that sort of
Yeah.
put a shadow on what he's been able to do. But I think since he's gone to the Bulls, he's become even bigger and better. And I think the future's really bright for him. And then the best Australian player of all time, it's tough. I think you toss it up between Paddy and maybe Bogut, just because their, I guess, longevity and also the success they've had, not just in the NBA but also with the Australian team. I think that's, yeah, I'd say, yeah, Paddy or Bogut. Paddy's still going, and what does he play, like 5 Olympics? It's
Yeah.
pretty, and then what he did in the bronze medal game a couple of years ago to secure the first medal for Australia was amazing. So yeah, I'd say between those two.
Yeah. I feel like as well with Josh Giddey, that even though the Thunder obviously in the finals this year, I still think it was a great thing for his career to go to the Bulls. I feel like he's become like he's the guy on that team, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and he was good on a good team, but they had the current MVP with Shy, and they had a bunch of other young guys coming up. So I think it was inevitable that he would have had to have moved, and I think he went to a good place where the Bulls are sort of rebuilding, and hopefully they give him the keys and sort of build around him, because I think he's a guy that you can build a team around, and yeah, I think the future's really bright for him going
Yeah.
forward.
Mate, that half court game winner over LeBron, crazy.
Amazing. Imagine what you'd feel after
Yeah,
making that against the Lakers, LeBron. You're in Chicago. You mate, like, I couldn't imagine. Yeah, how could you sleep after hitting something like that?
mate, that would be crazy.
Something you dream about on the driveway growing up, like
Yeah.
your footy videos. That's what you think about,
Yeah, you never think that's gonna happen. I saw he actually came and played a game in Melbourne the other day.
Ah, yeah, like a
Yeah,
local league
like a
game or
rep
something.
game. Yeah, mate,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got a D grade basketball team. If you ever want to put on the jersey, the Brick Foundation, we're we're,
Yeah,
we're
there you
looking
go.
for players.
All right, let me know.
Yeah. um. So I just want to talk about a bit. Do you know what's next after basketball, or because I know you still got some basketball left in you, but have you ever thought about it, or is it kind of just focusing on the now?
I think about it every day, but I don't quite know exactly, what I wanna pursue. I have, depending on the day. I got a degree in psychology, so I still,
Yeah.
I'm thinking about pursuing something to do with sports, psychology, business, something like that. I haven't, ruled out coaching, so I'm not sure what could come. But yeah, I got a couple more years to decide. But yeah, I definitely won't just be sitting at home on the couch. I'm looking forward to something next after basketball, but I'm still, yeah, got a few things in the works, but haven't, yeah, put a nail on anything yet.
Yeah, fair enough. It would be tough because obviously you got to focus on the team and focus on playing. It's hard to think ahead in the future.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
guess I guess the main thing I want to do is just be a great dad, because
Yeah.
in the season and stuff you're on the road, and it's it's difficult to what's the word, you've not, yeah, I guess I just want to be fully present, be there, and provide to my kids everything that I was afforded when I was growing up with my parents, and how they never missed a game, whether it was school, like whatever. I don't know if my kids will play sports, but I just want to be present and yeah, just number one, be a great dad for them, and that's my
Yeah.
main focus. And whatever else can fit in after that will be, yeah, extra.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I got the last big question. This is what I ask all my guests this.
Okay.
Why, out of the millions of kids and people trying to play professional basketball, did you make it?
I guess the obvious one is that I'm 6'10", 208 centimeters and left-handed, unorthodox. But I think I just had a will to want it, and I always had a vision of what I wanted to do. I wasn't, I had a list next to my bed of goals. And I think that's really important for kids or for anyone that wants something to physically get a pen and paper and write down exactly what you want. It's almost like a ode or like a contract to yourself, and put it somewhere where you can see it and you're reminded of it. And yeah, I'm really big on that. If you write down what you want, and I remember, what I wrote down, what I wanted to achieve. And for those years and even to now, I always had something each day that I woke up and wanted to work towards. And if you work towards something every day and you have that vision, there's not really a need for a plan B, because every day you're working towards what you want and eventually you'll get there. So yeah, I think that's sort of why I got to where I got to out of what your question was, millions of other kids, is just because I focused and directed my energy, and every day I woke up, I knew exactly, what I was working towards, and yeah, it was inevitable when it happened.
Yeah, great answer. Really good answer. This is a bit off topic, but I can't help but notice you're wearing a Broncos jersey.
Yeah, I was flicking through your page before and I saw you for the Blues. I almost sort of staring you off on the interview and can't
Nah,
stand
mate.
that.
Well,
Nah.
well, Blues are winning
But are you
3-0
from
this year
Melbourne or are you
anyway.
from New South Wales?
No, I'm from Sydney.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
Unlucky.
mate. So
Yeah.
hate Queensland, hate the Broncos. But yeah, I go for Para, so it's not much better.
Yeah. Nah. What do you think is going to happen in Origin next week? How much do you reckon
Mate,
Queensland will win by?
no, mate, no way Queensland's winning. I actually think Jerome Luai will get man of the match. Got
Yeah,
called
for
in late.
Queensland, when we
No,
win. Nah,
mate.
Mitch Moses is a big loss for you guys.
Yeah,
His kicking game. Yeah, no, I think, look, yeah, no,
yeah,
no chance. Queensland will win. Sure.
yeah. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. You never know in Origin, eh? You can't really
Nah.
pick it.
Especially in Perth. I don't know why.
Yeah,
I mean, I get why they play over there, but keep it in Queensland and
yeah.
New South Wales. Like,
New South Wales.
why we? Yeah.
But yeah, well, thanks so much for joining me, Brock. It's been a great chat.
No,
Learned a
yeah.
lot. It's
Appreciate you
crazy
having me.
cool.
And
Yeah, sorry, what were you gonna say? Sorry.
no, I just was gonna say, just fortress. I appreciate you having me. I love your videos. Everything that you post, bro. It's like, damn, man, that was me back in the day. Like the one kicking the footy and like catching it super high when a car drove by. It's like,
Yeah.
Wayne, we've got him. That's exactly what I used to think. But no, they're hilarious. So yeah, I love your work. Big fan.
Thanks so much, man. I'm a big fan of you. It's crazy. I'm actually talking to someone that's a professional basketballer. That's my dream, but I'm like 6 foot on a good day and pretty shit. So,
Never know, man. Never know.
mate, maybe you can teach me how to dunk one day.
Yeah. No, one day I'll come and play for what is it, Brick City?
Brick
I'll be down.
Foundation, yeah.
Brick Foundation. Yeah. Shout
Yeah.
out. I'll be down there one day.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us, mate. Good luck with the new season, and yeah,
Appreciate
get
it.
it done.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me, and yeah, appreciate it.